We're happy that every one of you is here this morning. Thank you, Lynn, for the beautiful music. And let's begin with a prayer. So we come together now and we feel the presence of Spirit in this room. And we know that even with every little glitch, that all things are truly all right. We just hold that as our truth always. We see that each and every small thing that seems to come our way is really a small thing. And so for that, we're very grateful. We start this day again with gratitude in our hearts. Gratitude is the truth of who we are when we are at our highest and best. And so we say thank you for this day. Thank you for each other, for this beautiful congregation, this beautiful little church, this wonderful, beautiful little community of Rockport. We truly know that we are blessed to be a part of all of this. And so we say thank you, God. And we bless each church and each synagogue, each mosque, each temple. For we know that all are made by the same Creator, and all paths lead to God. And we are all brothers and sisters. And so we acknowledge that and honor that this morning as well. We say thank you for this day, for this week, for all the good in our lives. And so it is. Amen. So let's begin with our Surely the Presence. The words are on the screen. Is going to read our daily word. Wynn, if you will come up, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today's title is I Honor My Connection with All People. No matter how great the distance that exists between me and the people I care about, I know we are connected by our love for each other. Today, I reestablish and strengthen this connection by reaching out, even if it's only to let someone know I'm thinking of them. Our connection is also kept strong through prayer. As I pray for those I think about, I bless them by holding my highest vision for their lives, seeing them as healthy, prosperous, happy, and fulfilled. Whether we're in frequent contact or have fallen out of touch, my connection with my loved ones remains strong because we are one in God, one in love. The verse today is 1 Corinthians 12:13. For in the one Spirit we were all baptized into one body. Jews or Greeks, slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of one Spirit.
Thank you, sweet So we have a congregational song. The words will be on the screen. Peace like a river. This morning we are doing our second week of the book, The Four Agreements. We started last week with the Four Agreements, and just to give you a little synopsis, this is the wisdom of the Toltec Indians from thousands of years ago. The book was written by Miguel Ruiz, who is a Toltec, and he says that the Toltec Indians believe that we make agreements when we come here, and there are agreements that don't serve us very well. We make them with each other and family, and so he has talked about the agreements that we make that don't serve us and gives us 4 agreements that will serve us. Last week's agreement was being impeccable with your word, which he said is the most important of the 4, and the others all come from that. So this morning we're going to look at the second agreement, and that is don't take anything personally. How difficult is that? That might be the most difficult one. The Toltec wisdom says that when we take things personally, we make an agreement with suffering. There are several reasons why he says that's true. And he says that even when a situation seems so personal, it has nothing to do with you. Even if others insult you directly, what they say and what they do and the opinions they give are formed by their own minds, their own experiences, their own agreements that they have made with others in their part of society. And all of us, every one of us, grew up with someone in our world programming us. We were all formed by our own programming and our own domestication by those around us. Usually it was someone we depended on for love and security. You know, when you're small, you want to please those who supply you with your love and security. And they raised you the way that they wanted you to be, and the way that they wanted you to please them. And that domestication that they wanted for you is to bring people under control and to tame and to groom. That's what domesticate means. And of course, think about it, it's highly unlikely that any of us receive the same programming as anyone else. all people live in their own world, which is always different from our world. It's the reason that there are such high divorce rates. It's because we marry people, and we're really marrying people who have agreements and ideas of those who domesticated them. So you're actually not marrying the person you think you're marrying. You're marrying that which domesticated them. And of course, not knowing that that's what we've done, we immediately begin to try to domesticate each other as married couples according to our own programming. Ever have that happen? Only all the time. When we then experience hurts and insults by our spouse, often with our family, and in turn we'll hurt them because we take it all so personally. And we don't realize it's not about us, it's about them. And, you know, having studied this for years, it's helpful, too, for us to all learn that not even children in the same family with the same father and the same mother experience the same family and the same domestication. For instance, if you're the oldest child or the only child, much is expected of you. It's likely that mom and dad are young and they're struggling financially, they don't have much money, and they put a different demand on the oldest child. On the other hand, they may still be in love, so you may also see a model of a loving couple. The second child is the invisible child. There becomes more responsibilities for mom and dad with more mouths to feed by the second child and less time to spend with the children. And often the first child or a nanny or a grandparent may well help to raise and program the second child. Often the second child is a late learner and the oldest will even do their talking and thinking for them. Have you ever seen that, where two kids are close to the same age and the oldest one will do all the thinking and talking for the little one? Those are all agreements that are being made about the child, by the family. The third and the fourth child will still have different domestication because those children that follow may now see fractures in relationships, or they may see more wealth, or they may see other situations that are totally different than the other siblings who came along first. There may be, at this point, alcohol or infidelity. The family may be in chaos. The mother may have returned to her own career and have little time for the siblings. So the younger children in a family will experience yet another set of programming and domestication. So when you think about it like that, it's a very different domestication with each child in the same family with very different programming. Because in essence, each child has experienced a different household. And so they get a different set of agreements. Now translate that to how each one of those children form opinions about themselves and their world and others. And if we think about that being just one family, having such different experiences, how could two people even in the same household ever get the same programming? So imagine why and how we are all different. And we all have totally different programming and domestication, depending on where we were in the birth order or at the time in our family that we were born. There's a lot of reasons, of course, besides this one, that is why we're programmed differently. However, that's a really good example. That's the one I chose to use. And it does show why we all have diversity. So let's get back to the statement that I originally made, which is all of us are formed by our own programming and domestication in our formative years, which literally makes us all have different opinions, different prejudices, different expectations, and different judgments. So what we really conclude is all others have lived in a very different world than our own. And it's the very reason that we cannot take anything personally. Those we're offended by, those who don't know us, those who have no information about us, cannot and must not affect us. You've all heard the old saying, we cannot drink their Kool-Aid. It's not yours. Their information doesn't matter what is said to us. We have to hear it through a filter, always, that says, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about them. Now, of course, as the book points out, and as you all are each thinking right now, I'm sure, that's a really difficult thing to do. When we feel we're being judged, we feel we're being unloved or downright insulted, the thought that it's not about me is a really difficult thing to remember. However, at that moment, we need to remember the things they say are informed by their agreements they have made in their own minds for their own programming and have nothing to do with us. But instead of rationally thinking that, what we typically do is we want to defend ourselves, we want to withdraw, we want to run away. None of us enjoys being judged or insulted or rejected. None of us do, and that's the very reason we have to learn not to take anything personally. Another thing to remember is by taking things personally, we set ourselves up to suffer for no reason. I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in my growing up years with my Cherokee grandmother, and she taught me at 10 years old, never judge a man until you've walked 10 miles in his moccasins. And I've shared this with you before, but it really helped me in my lifetime because that worked both ways. I didn't want anybody else judging me till they'd walked 10 miles in my moccasins either. So it was a great lesson early in my life. And so I always try to think about that when I'm in some sort of hurt, of conflict, or somebody who doesn't judge, or does judge, or doesn't agree with me, that I have to remember that it's not about me, it's about them. Now, Miguel Ruiz says that one of the agreements that we make with society is that we help each other and support each other in their suffering. You all heard the old saying, misery loves company, or, people who are victims kind of hang together if they feel like they're a victim. It seems like one who feels like she's a victim will always, he or she will draw someone to them that will agree with them and keep them stuck there. It's, I guess, that agreement that Miguel Ruiz is talking about. Sufferers need justification to suffer and will make agreements to have their suffering reinforced every day. We have to learn to trust ourselves more than others. We have to learn that we are the ones who can make right choices for ourselves. So when we learn to make it a strong habit not to take anything personally, we can avoid many upsets in our lives. Another way to say that, I think, is to use the word detach. You just have to detach and realize other people are coming from where they come from and not where you come from. He says in the book that a huge amount of freedom comes to us when we learn to take nothing personally. We can learn to ask for what we want and be okay with a yes or a no, and not take it personally if we're told no, not be hurt by it. The more we can make it a habit of not taking things personally, then we don't have to trust what other people say or do. We can begin to make our own responsible choices and decisions, to trust ourselves. We also need to learn that we are never responsible for the reactions of others. If we speak our truth and others react badly, that's not our issue either. That's their issue. We are only responsible. I like to tell people this is where our responsibility begins and ends, right here. It doesn't extend out. So of course the big question, since we know it's not an easy thing to learn to do, the question is, how do we successfully make a habit of not taking anything personally? He recommends in the book that first we want to make an inventory of our own agreements, the ones that we have made, the ones that we allow to hurt us. And by doing this, we can uncover the conflicts that are in our mind and begin to see how we've made agreements to believe others who say hurtful things. We have to learn to trust ourselves and to choose to believe or not believe what someone says of us. When we're offended, we have to remember to check in with self and remind self, I don't take anything personally. They, whoever they are, who has offended me, doesn't really know who I am. I'm a perfect child of God. I'm created in love by the creative energy we call love. That's who I truly am. That's who you truly are. That's who we all truly are. Our mantra, our mantra must become, I love me. I am a worthy human being. I will take nothing personally. This person has no clue who I am. And this person has no influence over me. As we learn how to live without fear and live only from love, love of self, love of others, love of our planet, we will allow ourselves to live without taking anything which is said or done personally, or whatever happens personally. Jesus admonished us to love God, to love ourselves, and to love others. When the lawyer stood up, who was trying to trap Jesus into telling a lie, and asked him some hard questions to see if he would tell the truth, which he did. The lawyer said, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he said, it is the most important commandment, and upon this commandment, all the others rested. Love God with all all your heart, all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. So when I think of that commandment, I think of God as that allness of all of the universe, of all that is, that God energy of all that is, and all that has been created, and that all continues to evolve at all times. We must learn to love ourselves and know that we are worthy just by being created in the image and likeness of that energetic love we call God. And I kind of, again, for myself, think of that as a deep knowing that there aren't any mistakes on the planet. Every moment is unfolding in perfect timing, and our only job is to go with the flow. It is difficult because of the way that we've been programmed and domesticated. It's difficult for us to tell the truth, and it's difficult for us to speak the truth because of our fears of not being accepted or creating a problem. However, there are ways that we can learn to tell the truth and not take anything personally about the response that we get back. It gives us freedom in relationships, and it gives us relationships that can deepen and grow. And the reward is we'd all be living in a much more honest world. I also love the Bible verse that says, the truth will set you free. It's an entirely new agreement that we could and should all make. Because a relationship, we're all in relationship, every one of us. When you are interacting with another person, you're in a relationship at that moment. What we need to learn how to do is speak our truth, but to speak our truth with love. That takes practice. We don't always speak our truth with love, but we can learn to do that. We can learn to speak our truth without anger or rancor. Just speak it with love. You have to change the words sometimes, but you can do it. But then when you do, you have to be perfectly okay with the response you get back. You have to give that respect to the other person as also having the right to speak their truth with love. And hopefully the other person is strong enough and wise enough to speak their truth, make new agreements, and learn not to take the response personally. It's a new way to communicate. One of the examples I used, I did this was a 3-day I did one time in a weekend seminar, and I used the example of when your neighbor asks you to borrow something and you're not willing to lend it. That's tough. You got to live next door to that person all the time. Or you ask them to borrow something they're not willing to lend. We have to both be okay with the answer. We have to both be all right with whether the answer's, if it's a no. No hurt feelings, no suffering, no loss of friendship, no taking it personally. And that's the hardest part. It's a challenge that we have to learn to not suffer from believing that it's about us. And as Don Miguel Ruiz says in the book, he says freedom is on the other side of this thinking. And if our relationships aren't complicated enough, we have to also know that we are influenced with the fact that we're living on a planet that is constantly evolving. You can't take that personally either. We have to learn to live with the evolution of this planet that we live on. Evolution is instinctual. It moves all elements of the planet in an upward spiral. We are all moving in an upward spiral at all times. A scientist will tell you that the Earth is always expanding, moving out, moving up. It's not shrinking. It's moving at all times. And that includes all of us. We're the microcosm of the macrocosm of this planet. Everything that's going on in this planet that we fight all the time, that we don't want to happen, that we don't like change, all of those things are part of us as well. So as the planet evolves and the planet changes, we have to also realize we've got to get on board with that. We can't be fighting that either, because that's another form of suffering. We have to realize that we are part of the microcosm of the macrocosm. And we kind of had some suffering a week or so ago, because we had a severe planet occurrence that caused a lot of suffering everywhere, because we had not done our homework and we had not done what was necessary to eliminate the suffering that was caused. We always want the planet to do it our way. We want the planet to do what we want it to do, and that's not going to happen. The planet, we're a small part of this planet. And what we have to learn to do is to remember that the evolution of the planet's always at work, always spiraling upward and outward, and that we're destined and designated to spiral upward and never revert or go backwards or stand still. This is hard because this is not what humans like to do. We get in our comfort zone and we don't want to change anything. We want to stay the same it's always been. And we fight it. And we don't ever quite realize that if we go with the flow of the universe and not try to change it, we will give up that form of suffering as well. We as humans have to realize that this planet is perfection. And we're a part of that perfection. We're a part of that growth and a part of that change. And that it only does create suffering to go against the evolving planet that we live on. It only creates suffering when we don't want change. You know, there's an old saying, change is inevitable, suffering is optional. I personally think we suffered last week because there have been some ways of life that in the past we haven't wanted to change. We haven't wanted to evolve. We wanted things to stay the same they were. And yet, this planet is not always staying the same. It is always changing. So this, you know, all that I've talked about here today is it has to do with trust. We have to trust that there is a higher power at work, always, in our lives. We're guided by that higher power. We're guided by the spirit that created us. We use meditation to go within and listen to the guidance that that spirit gives us. There aren't any mistakes on the planet. And we do not have to be subject to hurt feelings, we have to realize who we truly are. We have to realize that there is a higher power at work in our lives, in other people's lives, and on our planet. There truly are only two energies. Now, I had a hard time the first time I ever learned this, and I had to put it to the test in my mind for a long time. But we have only two energies, fear and love. So at any given moment, we're only operating out of fear or love. Fear takes on many faces, but we're either operating out of some energetic fear or we're operating out of love. And we get to choose which one at any moment. And when we choose love over fear of any kind, we eliminate the suffering that is being talked about in the second agreement. Love can be driven by spirit and also by a healthy ego. However, fear is never driven by spirit. There is no fear in spirit. There's only love in spirit, in our highest self, in the truth of who we really are, in the truth of that spirit that guides us at all times when we're listening. As humans, though, we don't always listen. We want to hang on to the erroneous belief that we know best. We know how to make it happen. We fight the inevitable evolution of our planet, and we suffer for it. Our planet suffers for it because we let our human fears drive our decisions. We have to begin to trust. We have to stop believing that we humans know better than Mother Nature, that we are more powerful, or that it's our job to be in charge of a planet that is far more powerful and perfect than we are. We have to eliminate our suffering by realizing we're not going to change the upward evolution of this planet. It's going to do what it's done for millions of years. We can either fight it and suffer, or we can trust it and love it and flow with it and be in the flow of the life that we have been given. So I'd invite you today to make a declaration that you will begin to put away all suffering, that you will begin to let go and trust that universal power to evolve and to grow with it and to flow with it. And to notice when we're suffering, what is it that we created that created this moment of suffering? So let's take this into a time of meditation right now. You may want to lay things aside and take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. And as we move into the silence, let us look at the places in our lives where we are driven by fear and ego. We're all human. There are places. And when you recognize what that may be for you, ask yourself, what would be that one thing that I would like to heal today? What is it that I would like to heal? There's probably one place for all of us where we feel that the world is a place that needs fixing. Perhaps the world is a place we can't trust. When indeed we can. When our greatest power is to just let go. To know that there is a divine flow, that there is a divine wisdom and a divine power that we can trust at all times. And whatever it is for you, ask yourself, or say to yourself, let me discern what is mine to do. And let me trust the wisdom of the universe as it flows and evolves and changes. Guide me to my highest good. Give me the wisdom to know that all is truly well, that I can trust, and that in this moment I can choose to make new agreements that will set me free. We tell ourselves this morning that opinions don't matter, that we choose truth and honesty, that we choose trust and freedom. We choose peace of mind and joy. This one fear that I've chosen to look at today, I choose to let it go. I choose to make a new agreement. I choose to know that the truth is I am worthy. I let go and I let God guide me to new agreements. And that I am grateful I was born with the gift of choice. The planet is a creation of perfection. And we can choose to learn to trust and live in harmony with that perfection, even when it doesn't appear to be so in our mind. today we choose to live in love, not fear. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Lynn. Beautiful. So a couple of announcements, and then we have a wonderful video to share with you. But I do want to, I think we have folks here for the first time, at least for the first time for me. Are you willing to say, stand and tell us who you are? We would love to hear your name.
Sure. Well, I'm going to say
Okay.
Nancy Norrell,
Uh-huh.
and I've lived here longer than most people. Lived here probably 40 years. And anyway, just I was interested in hearing the 4 agreements. I do receive email.
Okay, good.
I knew that you were talking about it. So anyway, so I came to hear 4 agreements.
Well, I'm glad you
It's
did.
one, but I'm here for the others.
Thank you, Nancy. And I hear there's another secret about you.
There is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That your mom Hazel was the president of the board of this church for many, many years.
She was.
Yeah.
She was, yeah. She was
So-
very dedicated. Had a lot of friends here.
So you've been studying unity a long time.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, in and out.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. But
Well,
I need to get back in.
That's what unity people do, in and out. Well, we're happy you're with us this morning. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. It's such a delight. So next week, we will have week 3, and that one's going to be, let's see, don't make assumptions. So next week, we're going to learn about not making assumptions.
What about Nancy's friend?
Well, she didn't want to speak.
You
so-
gotta encourage her.
Okay, all right, I'll encourage
You don't
her.
have to stand.
I try not to push people, but
Billy Gnarl. Bill.
I said
And
no.
I lived in Colorado for about 10 years or 24, I don't know. Time
More
went
than
by.
10, but-
Anyway, yeah, since 84, but more than, I went to California, I've been all over. But I wanted to come back to Texas on a party purpose. And I raised my children and my grandchildren, and I want to be my family, and they're here. And so I feel awesome to be back in Rockport. It feels like it's where I should be. And I love it.
are happy to have you
And I'm real
too.
happy to have you.
Yes, yes, we're so happy you're with us. I just didn't want to push you because sometimes people don't want to, so I try to be respectful. But we're happy you shared with us, and we're happy you're here. And so as you know, we don't pass the collection plate because of the CDC regulations, and so there is a love offering basket in the back of the room as you leave, and we're always grateful for your gifts so we can keep the lights on and the water running sometimes. Okay, so also the bookstore will be open after the service, and let's see, what else we are on YouTube, Unity in Rockport. So Monday or Tuesday you can see this again. You can see last week's, it's on there. And as of March 14th, we had said we were going to launch the live stream today, but we had an ice storm, as some of you might remember. And a lot of things were delayed that we needed to get done. So we now have a new projected date so that you can we will live stream and you can watch us on Facebook or YouTube or our website when actually the service is being conducted. So hopefully by March 15th we'll be able to do that. We do have people who are not coming to church because they're still a little afraid to be in crowds, and we do have some folks who are ill, so we want to hold those who are ill in our prayers for a speedy recovery. But it would be nice to have that ability to live stream for people who can't. We also have people from Corpus Christi who have not been coming because of being afraid to be in crowds. So anyway, that will be happening mid-March, and we're happy about that. So let's watch our video, then we'll sing our peace song and our prayer for protection.
Sometimes I'm not sure who I am, or even if I'm where I'm supposed to be. Grateful for all of my memories, starting to feel like I need new air. Today isn't my forever. I'm always changing for the better. I listen closely to my soul to know what I've got to let go. And every single day I'm looking forward. Be brave, embrace change, taking steps into the unknown, breaking free, finding clarity, what's best for me. I will find my way. Every single day I find my way. Nothing is good, nothing is bad. Let life happen and take it all in. I choose to focus on myself and promise to always put myself first. Today isn't my forever. I'm always changing for the better. I listen closely to my soul to know what I've got to let go. And every single day I'm looking forward. Be brave, embrace change, taking steps into the single day. I'm looking forward, be brave, embrace change, taking steps into the unknown, breaking free, finding clarity, what's best for me. I will find my way every single day. I find my way every single day. I find my way every single day. I find my way.
All right, so I want to acknowledge Tony. Thank you, Tony, for always taking care of our videos and getting us going. And Lynn, thank you. Lynn found that wonderful video. Thank you so much, my dear.
I don't know, somehow it was just perfect.
It was absolutely perfect, as were all of your musical selections today. We're very blessed to have you both. Thank you so much. All right, so let's do our peace song and our prayer for protection. Together, our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is and all is well. Have a beautiful week. Thank you all for being here. See you next week.